Many people don't understand why I can watch depressing films like Come and See and Funny Games without much effect. I mean, these films are still powerful, but they are so divorced from my experiences that I can't connect to the story on a personal level. But every now and then, a movie comes along that leaves me squirming in my seat and wondering whether to exit the theater rather than face the emotional power I'm about to watch on the screen. These films are rare, but the most recent example of this is The Holdovers, released on November 10th of this year. The Holdovers is a film directed by Alexander Payne about a grumpy teacher who's forced to stay behind at school over the winter break with a student named Tully. At first, they resent one another, but as they slowly understand each other, their bond grows. Going into this movie, I assumed this film would be an uplifting holiday movie about people coming together despite disliking each other at the start. And I got that. But I also saw a film about doubting yourself, being scared of the future, grieving the past, moving on, passion, family, resentment, comedy, and so much more. This film hit me on a personal level, but before I get to my crippling depression, let's talk about this movie on a objective level. Writer David Hemmingson doesn't have much on his resume that stands out to me, but this is his best script so far. The script for The Holdovers is fantastic, with so much complexity being conveyed without much exposition, and the exposition that is given is very, very natural. Many of the characters are understandable from the first few moments they are on screen. Even small roles, like the school janitor and the girl Tully kisses at the Christmas party, feel real and interesting. The story flows well from scene to scene, even conveying this visually with the constant use of dissolves, which add to the dreamlike atmosphere of the film. The absence of required action due to the fact that the school isn't in session allows the characters to mill about, do whatever they want. It doesn't force them into any scenarios or scenes. Every setting feels very empty, which is the point, and only makes the characters stand out more. The Holdovers is a quiet film, but it has a big heart. It takes its time and makes every line build up the story. The Holdovers is a little over 2 hours long, but it doesn't feel that way. The film feels like a solid hour and 40 due to its dreamlike quality and great pacing. This film is in near perfect shape, not a drop of fat to be found. I think that one of the only flaws of the script is the part with the other Holdovers. I don't really understand what the other kids were supposed to add other than doubling down on Tully's anger over having to stay, which was already well established. I enjoyed the scenes with them, but I can't say whether the film needed them or not. I'm leaning more on the side of keeping them because they were definitely entertaining, and helped establish Mr. Hammond and Mary. The dialogue felt very natural. Each character has a distinct voice, and they interact with one another perfectly. The scenes with Mary and Mr. Hammond in the first half were some of my favorites, only to be topped later by Tully Mr. Hammond's adventures in Boston, which props to making Boston interesting. As someone who lives in Massachusetts, I was never that interested in Boston, but this film made it look pretty cool. Oh, this film is also really funny.
You hit him? What, like punched him out?
Nope, I hit him with a car.
You got kicked out of Harvard for hitting a guy with a car?
By accident. Pint of Jim Beam, please. But he broke 3 ribs, which was technically his fault because he shouldn't have been in the road. $2, please. Also, he shot himself, which was the greater indignity. Here you go, killer.
Its jokes aren't forced and flow naturally out of the conversations. Almost all of the comedy was in the dialogue, which is my favorite kind of humor. Some of the comedy was inside the world of the story, and the characters laughed at what was happening, and it made the comedy even funnier, which isn't something all movies can do well. Looking at you, grown-ups. It should come as no surprise that Paul Giamatti is amazing in this film. The man has some real talent that has sadly been placed in some shit films, but anyone who has seen the John Adams Show will know that Paul Giamatti can act.
Our navy is needed to defend our own shores, and His Majesty has been more than generous.
Our independence cannot be achieved if we are to be nothing more than a pawn in France's never-ending game with our common enemy. Now, I respectfully ask that His Majesty be informed of my opinion.
The Holdovers gives him a good character and makes Mr. Hammond great. Every line is taken up a few notches due to Giamatti's performance. Mr. Hammond has so much wisdom to give, but so many flaws to overcome, and Giamatti makes it all come together. You get that he's a man who wants to be kind, but struggles to see the good in people. I think this is one of the most important themes of the film, not judging a book by its cover, and the film hammers it home by showing us copies of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations with a really strange, modern, abstract cover design. Just kidding, that's not related, but the joke about Mr. Hammond giving everyone a copy of Meditations was fantastic. Paul Giamatti really embodies his character, and you feel like you're watching a cranky old teacher rather than just an actor. Divine Joy Randolph is in this film, and I didn't even remember she was in Dolomite Is My Name until the movie was over. Her role in Dolomite was great, but this is the best I've seen her. Randolph gives her all, and like most of the acting, she manages to convey so much with so little. The moment we learn of her son's death, we know exactly how she feels about it. She wants to move on, but is constantly reminded of her loss, from people giving their condolences to music he used to listen to. You can see both sides of her grief. She's able to talk about her son openly with Mr. Hammond, but breaks down crying at the Christmas party. She's inconsistent, which is how grief works. She's full of compassion and sass, two things that I love. Mary reprimands Mr. Hammond when he's being a dick, but also shows him how to open up and enjoy the holiday. She supports the main story while also having her own distinct arc, which is great for a supporting character. Dominic Sessa. Talk about an actor coming out of nowhere and hitting the ground running. Like the rest of the cast, Sessa's performance is subtle, but packs much more of a punch in the second half of the film. His character does a lot more of the big acting scenes, and Sessa does a great job. Tully feels like a teenager, in one part due to Sessa being a younger actor, and another due to his understanding of his character. He has a confidence that benefits Tully, a sense of being right and misunderstood, that is both incorrect and correct. Is he a bit of a prick? Sure. Does he deserve to be treated better and given a chance? Absolutely. Tully messes with Mr. Hammond and tries to get him to crack, which is exactly what a kid like him would do. Dominic Sessa is great in this film, and I hope his next role is even better. Eagle Bride is one of the best parts of this movie. He creates the look and feel of the Holdovers through the cinematography. His work in this film reminded me of his shots in Bruges, another Christmas-related film, although much, much darker. The Holdovers is very good at establishing its winter aesthetic, which amplifies the lonely and slow feel of the story. The late 60s vibes are impeccable. I want to live in the world of this film. The colors, the music, all of it comes together. The aspect ratio is a perfect fit for the time and story, and it doesn't distract like some films. All in all, the visuals in The Holdovers are pretty much perfect, and I fell in love with the look of the film from the very first shot. Spoilers incoming. If you haven't seen the film, maybe don't watch this part. The Holdovers is a bittersweet film. It doesn't fully depress you or make you feel good coming out of the theater. For me, bittersweet is even more heartbreaking than the most thoroughly sad stories. It's more realistic. Our lives, for the most part, are in a state of bittersweetness. The Holdovers leaves its characters with the chance to improve and forge their own path. The story is in their hands by the end. I think that everyone can connect to both Tully and Mr. Hammond. I certainly did, to a level that I can rarely find in other media. I connect with Mr. Hammond, a blunt atheist and history lover who doesn't want to deal with the rest of the world. I connect with Tully, a kid scared of the future and filled with problems he is aware of, but struggles to change. Both of these characters complement each other beautifully, and this film is about change. Can we change, and how? It presents personal change as something that doesn't happen in a vacuum. It requires relationships. Mary helps both Tully and Mr. Hammond, and then when she needs them, they help her. The Holdovers is about giving people a chance and making the best of your struggles. This is something that everyone can relate to, and God did I relate to this film. I auditioned for this film 2 years ago. I didn't get in, obviously, but when I saw the trailer for this movie, it was a bit of a surreal experience. I was hesitant to watch the film, but I made my way to a theater and sat down. It was strange. I felt angry, jealous of Dominic Sessa for getting a part I tried for. He was much better than I ever would have been, and I'm not genuinely angry about this, but the feeling was there, and almost could have been, staring me in the face. As a wannabe filmmaker, this is the kind of film I want to make. The cinematography is exactly the way I want my movies to look. The same feeling happened when I watched Close, Tomboy, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I felt slapped in the face by a film I could have been a part of. It's almost mocking me, telling me I could never make a film like this, that I would fail. That's what The Holdovers said to me. The film isn't about that. That's my rare personal connection to the movie, and I'm not going to hold anything against The Holdovers. It's easily one of the best films of the year. I just might not rewatch it for a while. The Holdovers is amazing. There's not much else to say. It's a beautifully crafted film with near-perfect technical elements. I can't really think of any flaws in this film other than the fact that it could be maybe 10 minutes shorter. I don't know. I hope the best for this film, and everyone involved in it should get a pat on the back, and maybe an Oscar? Asking too much? Fine. At least nominate it for Best Cinematography and Screenplay.
Oh, I don't know. I suppose I failed someone who richly deserved it.
Oh, the Osgood kid? Yeah, he was a real asshole. Rich and popular combination around here.